Hey everybody, what's going on? Today we're going to be talking about the top 10 uncommons that I think you should know about, I reckon. Excluded from this list are Armiger, Outlaw Monk, Shield Guard, Zephyr Sniper, and Saurus. I feel like at this point we all know about them. They've been covered extensively, and there are plenty of videos out there from other creators that are great, that showcase these heroes, talk about them. I feel like they're very popular, and I don't want to talk about them. I think they're great. I don't want to put them on this list. I want to talk about 10 more and not populate it with, I don't want to make half this list the 5 most popular uncommons. So I'd rather talk about 10 more that I think are good that you ought to maybe consider looking into, especially if you're earlier game, especially if you're free to play. Maybe some of these champs can bring something to the table that you might not have at your disposal yet. So they're not in any particular order as far as how good I think they are. They are in order based on their faction so that we can just run down the list and I don't have to keep jumping around back and forth. So to kick things off, we're going to talk about Fireblade. If you've seen any of my old videos, I've talked about Fireblade a few times. I've got 2 videos on early game clan boss where I go over her. I think she's an excellent champ for early game clan boss. And she's got a little bit of utility elsewhere for a little bit. So if we look at her first skill, she has a 25% attack break on the first skill. First turn attack break is really nice for clan boss. It's a really desirable thing. Now it's not the 50%, but again, you're not taking her into late game clan boss or anything. And having that attack break is going to be nice because early game, it's real easy to get wiped out in the first 3 or 4 turns. You know, it's kind of hard to get the tankiness that you need to survive in there. So this is nice to have. One thing I'll say about this that's confusing to me is that there is no percentage chance for this to land, which means it relies exclusively on accuracy if she crits, right? If she crits, then it'll roll her accuracy, is the way that this is worded. Now, here we've got debuff and buff skill up chances, buff, debuff, increase chances, I guess I should say, in her skill ups, but she's not relying on a chance to proc. It's only reliant on accuracy, so I'm not real sure what the point in her skill ups are. So I'll say if you're going to try to skill her up, which I would recommend doing for this skill, if you get this skill done, don't bother here. You don't need to skill this up. This skill isn't here for the damage. This skill's here for the attack break, and I don't know why there's an extra 25% chance for it to land in here. You know, if you skilled this up and it then turned into a 25% chance to land, it becomes worse. Because right now, it's only based on accuracy. If it becomes a 25% chance to land, then it has a 25% chance to proc, and then you have to roll the accuracy. So 1 in 4 times, it's going to get a chance to land based on your accuracy. So it becomes worse. So if you can avoid it, don't put skill ups there, unless something's just weird here. I've noticed they don't pay a ton of attention to the uncommons. Some of them are blurry. They didn't even bother to finish the art on them. And then there are champs that are duplicates of each other, give or take a few base stat points. Squire and Pit Spawn are virtually identical. Who else? Crusader and Sergeant, I think. Well, let me show you what I'm talking about, I guess, while we're here. Crusader. Yeah, they're both here. Look at Sergeant. Attacks 1 enemy 2 times. And Rally, attacks 1 enemy with a random ally. We look at Crusader, attacks 1 enemy 2 times, attacks 1 enemy with a random ally. The only difference is a couple of points in their base stats. I think Crusader has a little bit more crit damage and a little bit more attack. I think Sergeant has a little more HP. But it's like, come on, man. I thought about making a video on that exclusively, but you know, I don't want to. There's enough videos for me to make calling out Raid for what they're doing, so... or calling out Plarium, I guess, so I didn't want to bother making a whole video on that, but it's a little obnoxious, guys. Change it up a little bit. Don't copy-paste champs. Anyway, Fireblade's good. That's what that boils down to. Next, let's talk about Squire. He's a defense champ that scales off defense, which is always fun. He's just regular first attack, and then his second skill, an AoE attack break. So again, this is going to be pretty useful in your dungeons. This could be helpful if you're trying to push through campaign. Putting that attack break on the enemies is going to make it so that your team can live longer, take more hits. And then again, when he gets to the boss, he's going to help put it on. One of the nice things about all these uncommons is, 1, they're going to be easy to skill up, and 2, their stuff is on relatively low cooldowns. So, you know, he'll be able to do a pretty good job of keeping an attack break up. and help you get through the waves. And again, he's defense champ and defense scaling, so as you increase his survivability, you're also increasing his damage output. So that's pretty cool. Pretty fun little champ. Has some decent utility in the dungeons and in the campaign, I would say. That's it for the Banner Lords. We'll jump into the Sacred Order now and take an official look at Crusader. I decided that I think Crusader is better because, again, he's got more crit damage and more attack in his kit. I think his base speed is better, if I'm not mistaken. Or maybe it's the same. No, it's the same. There were two other champs that were identical, but there was a drastic difference in their base speed. So, Crusader's another one that I really like. If you're watching my free-to-play account, some of these are going to be familiar because I'm building them on my free-to-play account. But here we've got attacks one enemy 2 times and then rally. So this is like baby Longbeard. Longbeard does it with the whole team. Crusader does it with an ally, but skill him up, it gets down to 2 turns. So he's doing it very often. Not to mention the damage bump. And I gotta say, I'm impressed with this dude's damage output on the free-to-play account. I do dig him. I'm having a lot of fun with him. I use him in Arena. He's real nice to have in dungeons, especially with champs that have good debuffs and stuff on their first skill. It's also nice in Clan Boss. I've been using him in there. And when he runs with Kale or somebody else, anybody that has the good first turn debuffs, like I was saying, it's real nice. You know, my team on my free-to-play account's doing 1 million damage roughly a key on easy. And there's not a lot going on. Kale's the only 5-star. The gear on everybody is very mediocre, but the comp is making some sense. And if I'm not mistaken, he is still a part of it. I know that I switched it up recently. I don't remember if he's still on the team, but he was on there for a while, and he was doing a good job. So he's a fun little champ. Cool, and like I said, like baby Longbeard effect. The rally is a fun skill. And 2-turn cooldown is really slick. So. I'm a fan. I'm a fan of. I will 6-star Crusader on the free-to-play account. Next in line we have Vigilante. Vigilante. He's a vigilante. One of those. Anyway, he's a cool champ. He's got a 2-hitter on the first skill, 3-hitter on the second skill that you can get down to a 3-turn cooldown, and his third skill has an opportunity to put a weaken up. Weaken's going to be nice in your dungeons, and he's got Fire Knight utility. This dude's actually going to be a decent Fire Knight champ because everything he does is a multi-hit, and he's throwing up a weaken here, so it's pretty nice. It's unfortunate that it's 1 turn. I've noticed that's another trend they like to do with the uncommons, is make a lot of their debuffs last 1 turn. 1-turn debuffs can be really aggravating, because if you put it on right before the enemy gets a turn, you might as well not have put it on. You know what I mean? Depending. If it's an attack break, it's useful sometimes, but something like a weaken, it needs to go on before everybody else hits, obviously. But regardless, it's there. Multi-hits on all of his skills, low cooldowns, and he has a weaken. Kind of a cool champ. Now, he is an HP champ that scales on attack, which is a little bit unfortunate, so he would be more of like a shield breaker for Fire Knight rather than someone you'd be relying on damage for, because with 760 base attack, you're not going to get much damage out of this dude, but he can be pretty tanky, and he can go in to help you be a shield breaker / weaken. So some decent Fire Knight utility, I would say, for early game, for a while. Anyway, in a dungeon that can be a little tricky, you know. Kind of feels like you don't have a ton of access to multi-hitters, but there's a few of them in the uncommon pool in this game. So moving on, let's talk about... Ooh, let's get it right on the first try. You? Yes. Outrider. Outrider's kind of cool because he's got 3 skills, and his stats, they're low, but they're some of the closest to rare stats I've seen. He's over 1100 base attack. He's got roughly what a rare attacker has for base HP. His base speed is high, and he's got decent defense. His stats are interestingly high for an uncommon, and he's got 3 skills. It's almost like they wanted this dude to be like a bad rare. And his kit is not bad. First turn defense break. You've heard me say it dozens of times by now if you've seen any of my videos. Don't sleep on a first turn defense break. It's very useful. It's very useful in dungeons. It's useful everywhere. It's basically permanent defense break. So You know, it is 30%. He is an uncommon. And it's 1 turn, which is aggravating. But it's there, and it's first turn, so he's going to be able to keep it up a lot more frequently than if it was on his other skills. Second skill has a destroy proc built into it, which is kind of cool. Destroy is not super useful in this game just yet. You know, maybe later down the line if things change, maybe we get some more content. Maybe something happens where destroy becomes a little more useful. This could be pretty interesting. It's a single target skill. You can get it down to a 2-turn cooldown. And, you know, I don't know. Maybe he's got a little bit of a decent multiplier on it, so could be moderately useful. And then his third skill that you get when you ascend him is an AoE. You can get it down to a 3-turn cooldown, decent damage bumps from the skill ups, and pretty cool little attacker. You know, if you're trying to build a team of all uncommons, he's not a bad option for some AoE nukes and then some other fun stuff moving down the line. You know, he can help you wave clear in the dungeons, as well as keep a defense break up for you and contribute some damage as well. So pretty cool champ all around, to be honest. Not especially for an uncommon. He's got a lot going on for an uncommon. Next in line we have Outlander. That's a rough looking dude, man. Now, 1300 base attack on an uncommon. That's better than some rare attackers. That's good. I don't even think I realized his base attack was that high. Good base attack. He's got a 2-hitter on the first skill, and AoE turn meter reduction on the second skill. You can get it down to a 3-turn cooldown. And the debuff chance goes up substantially, so it turns into a 70% chance. This dude's decent Fire Knight. He's got good base attack. He's probably going to do decent damage for you if you can get the crit rate and crit damage on him. He's going to help you break the shield. If the shield's down, he's going to help you knock back the turn meter to keep the shield down longer. Not to mention that it's also AoE. It's going to help you kill the waves. He's going to help you knock back the turn meter on the waves so that you can get more turns and prevent them from getting more turns. He's a pretty nice dungeon champ all around. I think he's going to be particularly useful for Fire Knight. Brings a lot of stuff to a Fire Knight battle, despite having no like debuffs that you can place. The multi-hit first skill and the turn meter knockback are nice. Pretty nice little champ, man. Moving on to Oberon, which is here. Brute. Now I'm a fan of Brute. I like Brute. He doesn't have a lot going on, but for what he does well. I dig him. He's also one I talked about in my clan boss team, my early game clan boss. So we got us an uncommon attacker with strangely high base HP. Decent base attack, doesn't matter because you're not going to be using him to attack, and then a little low on the base speed, but not a big deal. Now, first skill, attacks 2 times at random, 50% chance of placing a 5% poison debuff for 1 turn if this attack is critical. Now this can place 2 poisons. So you've got the effect of an outlaw monk on the first skill. Granted, it lasts for 1 turn, but it's on his first skill. So, second skill, attacks when enemy has an extra 30% chance of inflicting a critical hit. Not really relevant. I don't really think you should use this dude anywhere but clan boss. But for that, he's great. You do have to obviously put crit on him so that he crit hits every time. And he doesn't get the crit rate buff on his first skill, so you do got to try to get him to 100 crit. But the good news is you don't have to worry about putting attack on him. Or crit damage. You just have to get the crit rate on him. So you make him fast, you make him as tanky as you can, and then you put the crit rate and accuracy on him, and he'll stack some poisons for you on clan boss, and his damage output is nice. So pretty cool little champ that I think a lot of people don't know about. You know, two 5% poisons on the first skill on an uncommon. Kind of cool. Moving on to Lizardmen, we have down here Skinner. I'm really digging Skinner on the free-to-play account, man. He's been a lot of fun, and this dude's got pretty good utility spread out. He's got a 3-hitter on the first skill, and then on a second skill, he strips 2 buffs, and that's on a 3-turn cooldown. This makes him useful in the potion dungeons, and this makes him useful in Fire Knight. The 3-hitter on the first skill is great, man. That's going to really help you knock that shield down in Fire Knight. Not to mention he's got pretty solid base attack for an uncommon, even for some rares. I think this is the base attack that like roughly what the starters have, if I'm not mistaken. But decent base attack, 3-hitter on the first skill. Definitely got some Fire Knight utility, but he's also someone that I use in all the potion dungeons so that he can strip whatever buffs they end up putting on themselves off. It's particularly useful in Spirit Keep, where Spirit Keep boss puts block debuffs up, which is so annoying. Such an annoying dungeon to farm. So Skinner makes that much easier. He's a really cool champ, and he's another one that I don't think anybody really pays any attention to. Next up, we have Vilespawn. Now, Vilespawn, kind of a cool champ. We've got an attack break on the first skill here. What's annoying about this is 5% chance. That's just stupid. Like, that's just stupid. Let's just be real about it. It turns into a 30% chance skilled up. But the idea that you even bothered putting 5% chance here is dumb. The nice thing about it is that it is a 2-turn attack break. So once you get her skilled up, you can begin to rely on this a little bit. But 5% chance. Excuse me, it's late. 5% chance. I can't imagine that's ever going to proc. So get her skilled up if you want to use her for that. And then here, you don't have a lot of options for heals in the uncommon pool yet. I'm hoping they will add some over time. I don't think there's any AoE healers in the uncommon pool, and she's one of very few that heal at all. And skilled up, this is a decent heal. It's 3 turns, and you can get it up to a 45% heal, 45% of their HP. So it's always that. It's always a 45% heal, no matter who you do it on, because it's based on their HP. Nice little burst heal on 3 turns. You get some good speed on her. You get some tank stats on her. You basically build her like you build Apothecary, except she's going to want some accuracy once you get her skilled up, if you want to rely on this attack break for using her in dungeons and stuff. But she's an option for a healer, and there's just not a lot of that going on in the uncommon pool. So I thought I would put her on the list. Moving on to the last faction we're going to talk about, we have Undead. And in here we have Dampier, who is a really cool champ. Really interesting. I'd like to see a little bit more base attack on her, and that base HP is rough, man. But anyway, attacks one enemy, grants an extra turn if the target is killed. Pretty cool. I don't know how... You're going to kind of have to set her up to kill once you start to get into a point in the game where stuff gets a little bit tankier. There's going to have to be a defense breakup. She's probably going to have an attack buff, something like that. But I'm trying so hard not to yawn. Second skill, attacks all enemies, heals about 20% of the damage inflicted on a 3-turn cooldown skilled up. This is pretty cool because she's kind of got a lifesteal effect built in where you don't really have to put lifesteal on her because she's not going to do much here anyway, so it's not really going to matter if she's on lifesteal. She's not going to do enough damage to heal substantially on that. And here is where she would do enough damage to heal substantially, but she's already got that lifesteal effect built in, so you don't really need to bother putting her on lifesteal. You could just ramp her damage up. And if you wanted to try to use her in spiders, she'll keep herself healed pretty well as long as she gets around to this kind of quickly. If you've got a good speed buffer or something on the team and good speed on her and she can turn cycle, as long as she's not getting targeted by all 10 spiderlings at once or something, she'll do a pretty good job of keeping herself healed up and keeping minions out of the fight. So kind of a cool little champ. She might be fun to use in somewhere like Spider. So worth looking at. And then last but certainly not least, we have Bullpine. Bullpine's a really cool champ, and he is a champ that has a first turn defense break. And he's got a really good chance to land it too. You don't see a lot of really good chances to land stuff in the uncommon champs. So 60% chance to land this defense break, and it's 2 turns. That's one of, aside from not being 60%, that's one of the more solid first turn defense breaks in the game, if I'm going to be honest about it. And skilled up, it turns into a 75% chance. So as long as you've got the accuracy, it's going to land most of the time. And that's really nice. And then second skill, you can get this down to a 3-turn cooldown. It's an attack buff on all allies. So really setting the team up for success here with this champ. If you put this champ on a dungeon team, lots of contribution here because it's gonna attack buff several times throughout the fight. So attack buff on the waves to help you get through the waves quicker. Peppering out defense breaks among all the enemies in the waves to help you get through them quicker. And then when you get to the boss, it's gonna keep an attack buff up and a defense break on the boss, really setting you up for success there. So you pair them up with some of the other champs, like maybe who was it that had the weaken? Totally blanking. Vigilante, the one I don't know, for some reason I have forgotten how to say that word. Paired up there, you've got defense break, you've got weaken, you got some fun stuff going on. So I think Bullpine's a pretty cool champ. Now the base speed is kind of low, but it's an uncommon. What you gonna do, man? So yeah, that's it. That's it for the list. Hopefully you got something new here, and you know, maybe I showed you some champs that you weren't familiar with. I have all of these champs, most of these champs, if not all, on my free-to-play account, and I haven't started to build all of them yet, but I do have them locked because I do have plans for them on the free-to-play account. So it might be a little while, but if you want to see them get built and put to use, that's where it'll happen on my free-to-play account. So I'll link that series at the end of this video for anybody that wants to check that out if you're not already watching, and you can catch up. And I'll be putting out another Pauper episode in the next day or two from the time of uploading this video. So yeah, that's it. I hope you guys got a kick out of this. Hopefully I showed you guys something you didn't know, maybe something that'll be useful. Hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.